Namaste, Jai Bharat. There are all kinds of speculations, narratives regarding the Alaska discussions. In the beginning, if you just go back in time, when the Ukraine-Russia war was on during Biden's time, Ukraine could have been very, very strong, used to be very strong in the sense that Biden was always constantly with him. Every time he could depend on Biden. But with Trump, the whole thing has changed. Things keep shifting with Trump. So as a result, like many other people, no one trusts America now. Zelensky finds it very difficult to trust Donald Trump because the way things go had happened to him is entirely different now. Initially, if you look at the thing, Trump was trying for a ceasefire. The discussions were going in that direction. Prior to that, he must have had some kind of discussions with President Putin on some media like that, and where there's a tentative understanding, as we understand that, the area which is already occupied by Russia should remain with them, but then Russia wanted some other areas also. So there was a possibility of swapping that area, something they may have to give it back to Ukraine. And so there is a possibility of ceasefire. But then ceasefire can never be a permanent solution. So the initial discussion was on ceasefire in any case. Ceasefire can't be a permanent solution. A ceasefire is not an agreement. After ceasefire for some days, Russia can again attack Ukraine, or Ukraine can attack Russia, because the ceasefire is simply an understanding. There is no written document in ceasefire. But now, after President Trump had talked to Putin in that Alaska summit, he makes telephone calls to Zelensky and many others, and we have no idea, clue of what their discussions are. Now the suggestion is that instead of ceasefire, we must have a peace agreement. If there is a peace agreement, then that gets to be a document. Should be a kind of real contract which should be respected by people whoever is concerned, or by everyone. This sudden shift is something new. How would Russia react to the discussion of peace agreement is yet to be known. What may be the conditions within peace agreement, we do not know. Perhaps they themselves are not very clear. They may have only vague ideas. But Zelensky, during Biden's time, refused to talk to Russians, refused to sit with Russians, had changed his tone. Now he wants Russia, US and Ukraine to be together, and he also wants witnesses. He also wants some important players of European Union to also be with them during discussions when the possibility of a peace agreement could be worked out, and then what Trump says he'll have to stand by that, number one, because he keeps shifting. Number two, it becomes a valid document, and then you just can't break it after some time until you violate the international law convention understanding. So Zelensky, who refused to sit with Russia one time, is now prepared to sit with Russia and US and also some invited European Union people. Now I don't know how would Russia react to the Ukraine's intention of being with NATO, getting into NATO or European Union. That part is yet unclear. The whole thing for Russia was they don't want Ukraine to be a member of NATO, therefore thereby getting support of the European Union. That part is unclear. Now, will this discussion yield any result is a question we do not know. All these things were a fiasco or futile exercise, futile work, We don't know. But things go on, and there are now many subtle aspects which are to be unfolded, and the whole thing could be different in future. We do not know. Uh, how would Putin react to the entire discussions among Zelensky, Trump, and other European Union leaders? We don't know. But common sense says that there's no possibility of Russia going back until they see something better benefit. So, if you want to get them agree these things, you must give them something substantial. And their prime request is that Zelensky should not be a member in the NATO. And Zelensky wants that support. How would they negotiate and come to an agreement? God alone knows. The situation is not that simple. Perhaps all these things, and then look at that. Look at another thing. Zelensky attacked drones, Russia, before summit, and after summit, Russia attacks Ukraine heavily. So we don't know. Don't be very hopeful about things. But then both people don't want war. That's one thing. But they are not going to give in. That's the point. They are not going to give in. No one is going to give in. Most people in Europe, maybe with Ukraine, but Russia has friends who are in support of Russia also. And to a great extent, they don't need support from anyone else. So we shall meet again. Namaste. Jai Bharat, Jai Shri Ram.